Hello, welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. This is the final word from Portugal 2, Republic of Ireland 1. A real hangover. I'm joined by Phelan Warren. Phelan, just want to let people know exactly what you do in terms of, you obviously have a band there with Catalpa, what you do, where you do be and where you can follow.
Yeah, well, we would normally have a gig before the home games. We still can't at the moment. So, but Catalpa, we've been the resident band for the Confederation of Supporters Clubs for the last, it's about 2014 time, because I joined Catalpa in 2015 and they had done their first AGM, I think, in the previous year. So we've been the resident band for 7 years for the Confederation. We've had a great association now with all the clubs, and we've had many's the memorable pre-match gig, so it's, but for the two games coming up, sadly we've nothing organised at the moment, but hopefully as restrictions continue to ease, Catalpa will be back in action before the matches in the Lansdowne Rugby Club before too long, because they're part and parcel of the Irish home match experience now at this stage, and we're always very well treated by the Lansdowne Rugby Club, and it's become the home of the pre-match social now, so but you can follow Catalpa, obviously. Those who haven't heard us before, we're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, so just Catalpa, Catalpa, that's simple as that. So, yeah.
So guys, check it out. Phelan's filling in for Gary Spain, who's actually coming back from Fair at the moment, so I suppose we'll just get straight into it. Phelan, it wasn't again, particularly going into it, that, well, I know I wasn't very optimistic about this game, but I mean, we'll kick it off with the lineup. I mean, he went with Bazunu in goals, which was a big call as well, because he left Aaron Randolph out of the team as well, so it was going to be between Gallagher and Bazunu. I think he went with the right call anyway. Duffy, Egan, O'Shea, which again, if you were picking the back three, they're probably our three best centre backs. Coleman and Doherty as wing backs. Matt Doherty on the left wing back, with Josh Cullen. Jamie McGrath was probably a surprise inclusion. Jeff Hendrick was probably a surprise inclusion, and Ida and Connolly. So what were your kind of thoughts when you saw the lineup announced?
Yeah, look, a lot of us, I'm optimistic by nature, but I did fear for us before I saw the team lineup. I thought, just given that we'd lost the first two games in the group, and with Ronaldo chasing the world record, I felt he'd be doing everything in his power to get that, obviously. Didn't expect the referee to be doing everything in his power to help him, but no, when I saw the team, I saw, well, look, defensively, in terms of who we have, I thought once our defensive five, including Coleman and Doherty, I felt once they were playing to their levels, I felt we were in with a chance of competing anyway. Coming forward was a different matter, because we all knew Portugal would have the lion's share of possession, but I felt Bazunu in goal was the right call. Also, he's been playing for Portsmouth, whereas Kevin Keller hasn't been playing yet. So I felt, and Bazunu's done really well in the matches he's played up to now. So I felt Bazunu was definitely the right call. But it's great to have the goalkeepers we have. That Kenny has a selection headache even at goalkeeper. But I felt, as I said, defensively with the personnel we had, even without Enda Stevens, I felt that we were well set. Midfield was a worry, because I just felt that we were a bit weak in that area. Like, Hendrick hasn't kicked the ball, not only for Newcastle, but in my opinion, he has kicked the ball for Ireland in a couple of years now. So I'm not a fan of Hendrick. As it transpires, he put in a good shift last night. Cullen, I like as a player. He played really well. And McGrath was a surprise, definitely. But look, given his form at St Mirren, and Stephen Kenny knows him well from having signed him for Dundalk. So obviously we'd no way of knowing how the game was going to turn out. But I felt up top, with Ida had done well in the previous couple of games as well. And Aaron Connolly was picked, obviously, to give us an outlet and a bit of pace. As it happened, Aaron didn't have his best game, as we all know. And but look, I felt, as I said, when I saw the team lineup, I felt I mightn't be. Maybe I shouldn't be too pessimistic, given the personnel, especially we had defensively. I thought once the levels defensively were up, we'd compete.
Yeah, I think that kind of showed. I mean, the first 10 minutes, Portugal coming on strong, as they probably did the whole game, I must say. But I just thought we were quite compact and resolute, and we knew we were going to be. The idea would have been first 10 minutes keep it tight, but then in the 9th minute, passing around the back, and Bazunu gets caught out. He gives us a sloppy pass. Yeah. and Hendrick, well, in my opinion, he does recover really well with the tackle. It's given a penalty. There was a load of drama within that couple of minutes. It went to VAR. He took about 5 minutes looking at the VAR, and it clearly showed. I don't know how many angles he needed to see that Hendrick got the ball first. And people can say we're biased, whatever. If you actually look at the facts, he gets the ball first. I watched it back there about an hour ago. He gets the ball first, and Fernandes goes down like he always does. I'm sure Man United fans will know that quite well as well. But he goes down like a sack of spuds. Then he lashes out and hits Darragh O'Shea. And if you raise your hand to an opponent, that's a red card as well. So you shouldn't have been on the pitch to take the penalty or score the 2 goals that we'll come to later on. But then the ref gives the penalty. He gives Hendrick a yellow card, and Bazunu saves the penalty from Ronaldo, which will obviously go down on his highlight reel no matter what he does. It was almost like he was setting it up so he could just save the penalty. But no, look, from that moment onwards, I think that was a real turning point in the game in our favour, and I think the momentum swung then in our favour. What were your kind of thoughts at that stage?
Yeah, as you say, the first 10 minutes they had the ball as we expected them to. I think the drama over the penalty, it strengthened us collectively, because we felt hard done by, because the referee didn't need to look at that VAR for the penalty decision as long as he did. When we saw it back, the first time I saw it back, I said, that's not a penalty. And you'd be getting texts from my mates, my brother, that's not a penalty, that's not a penalty. So it's not like we said that's a penalty. But I was saying,
we're not deluded.
I was saying, like, that's not a penalty, but he'll probably give it. And the longer he took looking at it, I said, we're going to give it. And he did. But for VAR to ignore the Ronaldo situation with O'Shea was just typically big superstar player, small nation. It's Ronaldo's night. He's going for the record. We can't send Ronaldo off in front of his home crowd. Now, O'Shea, I wasn't impressed with O'Shea's reaction. Yeah, Ronaldo did poke him. He poked him in the shoulder, and O'Shea goes down holding his head. I've no time for that either. Yeah, but the least should have happened was VAR take a look at Ronaldo's smack. At least a yellow card, if not a red, as you say. If you raise your hands nowadays, you're off. But from those two injustices, the penalty, not looking at the Ronaldo incident, I think the team kind of got it psychologically. And once Gavin made that brilliant save, I think that the team really got the bit between their teeth. We're not going to roll over for the Portuguese tonight, and we know we're up against the referee now. So I think it really, from the 10th minute on, like the header against the post, other than that, and the penalty save, Bazunu had little or nothing to do. Caught a few crosses. He did fumble one alright from a shot, which he almost let into the goal. But we were comfortable, and we from the 10th minute on, we started passing the ball better. Doherty was making some good runs up the left. We were looking quite threatening down the left. So we really grew into the game after the 10-15 minutes. And yeah, to say we looked really, really comfortable after the initial flurry from Portugal. And I just think that incident really, really galvanised the team to say we're going to dig in here, and we're not going to roll over here.
No, because you're right. Because I had from the 20 minute onwards. I mean, it says like a lot of Portuguese possession playing in front of the Irish. Like it was literally we're just playing in front of us, and we were happy letting them play in front of us. And then there was stages where we were getting forward. Coleman makes a brilliant run on the right hand side, a couple of step forwards, wins a corner. The ball comes in the box then, and I think it was Egan gives it to Connolly. I think a fit and sharp Aaron Connolly playing week in week out maybe hits the target there, but he blazes it over, unfortunately. And then we were defending brilliantly as well. I mean, Bernardo Silva had a chance that was brilliantly blocked by Shane Duffy as well. He just threw his body, could have been given for handball in another stage as well, but it was just kind of the way he threw himself at it. Then as you say, Jota hits the header off the post after Cancelo's ball. I've seen people giving out saying, Doherty should get tighter there, but I think he's kind of given him all he can do in terms of an angle, and he's also watching the player running in behind him. So I think you just sometimes have to go. It was a great ball. It was a terrible miss.
Quality. It was quality play, but it was a terrible miss. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
By Jota. It did look like Bazunu had saved it, but obviously it wasn't the case. Then Palhinha shoved Connolly into the manager then around the 30th minute over near the sideline, and to be honest with you, I was surprised that he got booked and he got away with murder throughout the game. I felt there was times I know in the second half Connolly got booked for going up in the air with him for a ball, and I think they tried to say he elbowed him or something, and he got booked for it. I definitely felt there was a lot of home advantage there by the ref a lot of the time. You know what I mean? A lot of their players got away with. I remember Bernardo Silva took out Doherty earlier on in the game as well before, same kind of area, didn't get anything for it, probably because it was in the first 5 minutes. But I think you have to be fair there in terms of if you're going to card one of our players, you have to card one of theirs as well. I just felt as though he was more lenient with their players. People might say, "Oh, listen, you're clutching at straws there, blaming referees and stuff like that." But I did really think this referee was atrocious.
There's no other word for it. He was a homer. There's no other word for it, Paul. He was a real homer. Whatever about the one that you mentioned there, Connolly in the dugout, I think that Paulino just muscled him out of it. But look, we've been over the penalty.
I don't mean just that he did a couple of more instances after that. But
there's half a dozen incidents you could say. I mean, he booked Doherty for getting injured when Doherty went off, clearly hurt and in pain. He books him. So what was that for? Yeah. When he didn't book Ronaldo for the puck on O'Shea. No, there was too many decisions from beginning to end that proved he was there not to ruin Portugal's Ronaldo's night. There was too many decisions, Paul, for us to think otherwise. And then we'll come to it at the finish where is the picture of him and where he's apologising booking Ronaldo for the second goal, and then he's seen giving him a shirt. I mean, what's going on there? It's just he was awful. He was awful.
I suppose another turning point just after the half an hour mark was Dara O'Shea goes off injured and he looked really bad. He made a recovery challenge from behind. It was a terrible tackle and he injured himself trying to get back to Jota, and he had to go off. And about 5 minutes later, for some reason, it seems as though we weren't allowed to bring him on. Omobama Deli comes on. So we were down to 10 men for a bit, and I think they had a chance as well in around that time. But what I have here the notes then around the 39th minute mark, there was a good bit of play by Doherty up that left hand side, and he gave it up to Connolly, and he plays a 1-2 brilliantly with Almeida, who flicks it back. But again, he blazes over. It's just, I think on another day he hits the target. Maybe not goes in, but I think he hits the target there on another day and tests the keeper better. I think I've seen a lot of abuse for Aaron Connolly, especially on our Instagram and in the comments. I was so very surprised because I think Aaron Connolly, although he was wasteful, he was still getting into areas that a lot of our you wouldn't see McLean getting into those areas because of his age. That I think Connolly took up brilliant positions, and obviously we'll come to the goal in a sec, but I just think he gets a lot of stick off our fans.
Well, look at we're long enough supporting the Irish team to know that if you make a couple of mistakes in the team, such as social media now, there's going to be someone tapping in abuse. Now, I was critical of him last night as well. I felt he was undoing a lot of his good work. He was lacking composure.
But you weren't recognising that he was still doing good work.
He was doing, of course, he was picking up good positions. The move you mentioned there with Ida, where he blazed over, it was a brilliant bit of approach play, but his composure lets him down time and again. And that was the disappointing bit. And I just felt that a little bit more composure, we would have got more out of some of the moves. Even the move that led to the goal, the corner, when he got played through by Josh Cullen, I just felt again it was down to composure where where the keeper blocked the cross. I just felt a bit of composure. He could either dinked it over him or found an Irish player in the middle. So it was frustrating me. His end product was really frustrating me. Now, but the abuse is wrong, but as I say, we live in a social media age. It's quite easy for someone, and it's too easy for someone to just type out an abusive post. These are people who probably don't really, maybe haven't played the game. They don't understand football. Basically, a lot of them they watch. They have every right to watch the match if they're entitled to their opinion. But a lot of their opinions, you just kind of shake your head and say, what are you
best ignored,
best ignored. But look, that goes hand in hand with the territory nowadays. When you're in the spotlight when you're playing for Ireland, and if people don't think you're measuring up, you're going to be hit with stick. So there you go. But look, his performance was, he mixed the really promising with the really disappointing. His composure for me is his biggest letdown, because it was a lovely move, I say, with Edith, but the shot was like 20 yards over the bar. Just a bit of composure. But again, he's only a young fella as well, so we got to give him a bit of leeway. in terms of he's still relatively young, and hopefully the best is yet to come from Connolly.
Yeah, I think he was lively throughout, and I do have to give massive credit to Adam Ida, because he did put in a shift throughout the whole game. That position must have been horrible, and up against Pepe and Ruben Diaz, as with Connolly as well, and Connolly was causing constant problems, and that's shown just before we scored, because he gets in behind, great ball by Josh Cullen outside the right foot, and as you mentioned, he got into that position, and maybe with a bit more composure, as you say, he probably scores or just lifts it a little bit, but it's easy for us to say sitting here, we're not in the box and having those players come at us as quick. But look, the ball went out for a corner. Jamie McGrath delivers an excellent corner, and John Egan, who I'm absolutely delighted for, he won Player of the Year, FAI Player of the Year yesterday as well, and he celebrates it by getting the goal of the game and putting us 1-0 up, and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I was so happy when he celebrates in front of his family there and the Irish fans, the handful of them. But it was just, honestly, at that stage I was buzzing. How are you feeling when the goal went?
Oh, look, every Irish goal we celebrate. Especially we've had such a lack of goals under Stephen. When the header went in, I was initially shouting, It has to be Shane Duffy, because Duffy is such a weapon at set pieces. But it was as you say, it was a great delivery from McGrath. It really was. It was right on the money. A great run by O'Shea across to the near post. Lovely glancing header, the keeper. And when you've nobody on the far post, there's only one place that's going, it's in the net. So it was great. It was a great moment, and I was off my seat, shouting, punching. The dogs went running, so as usual. So great moment, and great for John, because he's had a hard time the last 12 months or so, with injuries and what have you. So it was a wonderful moment, and just before half time as well. It's there's no better time other than scoring the winner in full time. It gives you such. It completely transforms the manager's team talk. It transforms your demeanour going in to get a goal of such importance just before half time was fantastic. It gives you something to hold on to for the second half.
Yeah, no, I agree. The only thing I would say is you would have thought it was half time, but there was another 5 minutes added on after that. Yep. Even having the note there, Connolly booked for competing that header with Paulinho. So that was just after that goal, and then Jota had a chance that squirmed under Bazunu, but he done well to recover off the post. And then Jota had another effort that just went wide just before half time. So we did have two close calls just before half time, but as you say, going in 1-0 at half time, and kind of the way we were playing, I was feeling a little bit confident. Not that confident we're going to go out and add more goals or something, but I felt confident that we weren't going to, I would say, crumble. I don't still think like we did crumble. I don't think we were helped out, and we know why. But I felt as though at that stage we were, optimistic going into the second half, going, hang on, we're doing quite well here. Everyone thought it was going to be a cricket score. Everyone thought we were going to get hammered. And the lads come out and to a man, they all put in a shift at that stage. Yeah. People have been critical of Hendrick and saying he hasn't done it. That was his best performance in a long time in Irish jersey for me. And he hasn't been playing at club level. Look around the team, Duffy was outstanding. The whole back line were outstanding for me. The wing backs included in that. Everybody put in a shift. And despite what people want to say about Connolly, I felt like he was an outlet for us to get up the pitch on the counter attack. So second half, or half time, what were your thoughts going into the second half?
Yeah, look, it certainly, as we said beforehand, I was very pessimistic, but having seen what we'd achieved in the first half, it certainly gave you real grounds for optimism that we weren't going to lose. We still expected Ronaldo and other players to make their mark for Portugal. We were still very much up against it. For the next 45 minutes, we knew Portugal would come out in the second half and again have the lion's share of possession. But we'd done enough in possession in the first half. We weren't just. It wasn't backs to the wall in the first half. When we had the ball, we tried to be constructive. We got in a few times as we've touched on. The passing of the ball was good for the most part. McGrath's passing was really, really excellent, I thought, all through. For a fella who's on his competitive debut, McGrath was absolutely superb in possession. Cullen is always tidy in possession. I used to say Hendrick was a lot better than what he has been. So, and it was, we know what we'll get from Seamus Coleman. Now he did give us a heart attack near the end when he tried to flick the ball inside and we lost possession and they made a chance. But on the other side, it was Doherty's best game for Ireland as well. Absolutely outstanding. Like my brother texted me just before full time with his man of the match, and I said, you could have at least half a dozen candidates for man of the match, and you could make a good case for 8 or 9 of them. And if someone said he was man of the match, you could have said, yeah, I see why you'd say that. It was an outstanding team performance, and just to get back to your question for the second half, I just felt, we're more than in this game, and Portugal are going to have to play well to get the 3 points, because we looked, our shape was good. We were getting up the pitch, as you say. We were making a few chances, so it wasn't backs to the wall by any means. We weren't going in at half time saying, this is going to be backs to the wall for the second half as well. That's not the mindset I had. I was very, very optimistic we get something out of the game. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
well, that was the thing. Like, I have again on the notes, early pressure here. Duffy with an unbelievable headed clearance then from Guerrero inside the box. Bamadelli and Coleman linked up well then to get the ball up to Jamie McGrath, as you spoke about his pass, and he plays Connolly in. And I just don't understand why Connolly runs at him. I think it was Cancelo. He makes a brilliant challenge. But the ball falls back to Connolly again, and he takes a boy to the defender, and he just doesn't shoot. I'm just thinking, just hit that with your right foot across goal. If it doesn't go in, it doesn't go in. But just get the shot off. Yeah. And he goes down softly and looks for a penalty. He was never going to give a penalty, and that's the problem with Aaron at the moment, is that he always looks like he's going to go down, and refs aren't going to give it because he's always looking for it. Whereas if he wasn't looking for it as much, maybe he would get more. If you get me.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
Players like that, you know, who are always looking for it, and they never get it. Yeah. Whereas you're a bit cuter, I think, and just tries to stay on his feet a little bit more. Not all the time, because look, everybody does it to us, and we'd be human saying where our players go down. He just, for me right now, as he's still learning, I just think he goes down a bit too much. Yeah, and I think that definitely was in the referee's mind for the penalty we definitely should have got. The fact that Connolly, he did dive in that situation, the initial incident you described there, when he had a couple of goals at Cancelo. But I think that's in the referee's mind when he was taken down. I mean, that's for the one that we should have had a penalty. That's when you look at what the penalty was given for them for, that's way more a penalty on Connolly than was for Jota in the first half. It was outrageous. Did VAR look back at that one, the Connolly one, when? Yeah, when he gets a shove in the back from the
they did look at that. I mean, for them not to give a penalty after with the referee having given the first one.
Yeah, you think
it just proved to you we were never going to get anything out of either the referee or VAR on the night, because that's, as they said on Virgin Media, Brian Kerr and Damien Delaney, their view of it, that's a stonewall penalty, and that was a stonewall penalty, no question about it. But maybe it's in the referee's mind, as we said, because Aaron has looked for the penalty 10 or 15 minutes before that. He decides he's dived again, but it was totally wrong. It was a penalty, no question.
Yeah, the only thing I would counter that with was just after the first shout for the penalty, Fernandes comes close with that shot. It just went wide, but the way it dipped, I've seen him score them. I've actually seen him score against Everton a goal like that. Yeah, which didn't impress me too much. Yeah. But then Andre Silva, he went down in our box just before Connolly. Before the Ruben Diaz shove, but Bamadelli, and that could have been given too, because it was on replay. I know the way Coleman and Bamadelli reacted was really good, because it made no doubt in the referee's mind. But if you watch the replay, he does kick his heel.
At the time I winced. At the time when it happened in real time, I went, oh shit, and I thought that could easily have gone. That could easily have gone against us.
So I'm just thinking that might have influenced the referee's decision, which you can understand at that point. Yeah. Then I have the 60 to 70 minute bodies were on the line defending everything. Ida taking off pressure, working tirelessly. Connolly was fouled by Ronaldo, and he goes off for McLean, and I think that was the turning point. The pressure was mounting for them, but I actually kind of glossed over Connolly's chance, which yes, brilliant play by Ida. It was Connolly and Ida. Yeah. The ball goes up to Ida, and he crosses in the ball, and John Egan of all people is in the centre forward position. He knocks the ball down for Aaron Connolly, and as you say, he gets shoved in the back as he hits that ball. I don't know, does his momentum through the back of him, because he looks like he hits the ball first, and he kind of comes through him just that second after he kind of touches the ball. So I wonder, does that influence the referee's decision? It's a shame. I would have loved for him to just bury that, and at that stage we're 2-0 up, and as the pressure was mounting, I think the Portuguese would have panicked at that stage, and unfortunately it wasn't the big, but he goes off injured. But what were your thoughts? Well, obviously you've said about the penalty, but I think just the move.
I think if he's not impeded by the defender, even though his finishing hasn't been good, I think he scores that if he's not touched. I really think that, because he's got a bit more. If he doesn't feel the challenge coming in, the ball is going to drop that extra few inches where he can get a proper connection on it, and I just can't see him missing that one if he's not fouled. And at 2-0, I don't think there's we wouldn't have lost the game at 2-0. I couldn't see Portugal scoring 3, even though they got two. They got 2 between the 89th and the 95th bloody minute, 96th minute. But I think at 2-0 psychologically as well, the Irish team's adrenaline is going to really kick in with the second goal, and I think we would have seen it out at 2-0. But it's all ifs, buts and maybes at that stage. We weren't given the penalty, and at 1-0, it's still up for grabs really at 1-0. But I felt I was happy enough with McLean coming on, because what you'll get from James is 100% effort. He's a devil for giving the ball away so often, but at that stage it was more a case of him, tucking in, doing his defensive stuff properly, which, as it happened, he didn't. One of the goals, when he kind of sold himself a bit easy for the cross for one of the Portuguese goals. But I felt Connolly coming off wasn't a bad move, and he was injured anyway. But I would have had Connolly off early, because, just as I said, my criticism of him was that he was just making too many mistakes. So I wasn't unhappy that Connolly was replaced. And it was a big call. We mentioned Omobama Dele there earlier. That was a huge call, and a huge leap of faith from Kenny to put him in after half an hour to make his debut. And my God, did he repay it? He was absolutely superb.
I think he's a star,
absolutely superb. And I was reading about him at the end of last season when he got into the Norwich team. They're raving about him. So I mean, this lad is the future. 19 years of age, to play an hour in a high pressure situation like that was incredible. And it's great to see these young lads stepping up to the plate, and they really stepped up to the plate last night. Every single player, but the experienced players, but the young lads especially, as we said, Bazunu, Omobama Dele, Jamie McGrath. Now Jamie's in his 20s.
Adam and
we may hope it's a coming of age for these players, and that as it turned out, it's a sickener, but you learn more from a defeat like that than you will by winning a game. You always learn more in defeat than you do in a victory. So I still felt getting back to the McLean sub, still felt we were in good shape. Again, we were defending a lot, but Bazuna wasn't making save after save. We were keeping them out. Defensive shape was brilliant. We were getting our blocks in. We were getting the interceptions in, and we were still trying to pass the ball. We weren't just kicking out to touch, kicking it back to halfway. We were still trying to be constructive.
Yeah, I think we were defending for our lives, and you think you could see that, because every time someone made a save or a block, they were running over as if they've celebrated a cup final almost. Yep. The players like Duffy, every time Bazuna made a save, he was down patting him on the head. Same Andrew Omobama Dele. Yeah. He actually. I don't think we touched on it, maybe we did, but he actually made a good defensive block from Jota when he just came on earlier in the game with his head. He put it out for a corner, but I thought he was outstanding. For someone who's 19, as you say, I was speaking to him before, or just at the end of the season, he came in and we did a podcast and stuff like that, and he was saying he thought he might be going out on loan. I think after that performance last night, I know the transfer window's shut, but I think he's more than capable of playing Premier League level if he can play international level like he did. But just coming back to the chances, just after Connolly went off actually, and we speaking of big misses, Bernardo Silva missed an absolute sitter and skied it, and my heart was in my mouth at that point. We spoke kind of, if Connolly is fit and playing regular games for Brighton, I think he scored maybe 2 goals in that game last night. The problem is he isn't, and he's never had a run in games really in the Premier League in terms of firing and all cylinders, when you'd love to see it from him. I think Bernardo Silva, it's obviously he wanted to get out of Man City, and I think he's a bit rusty. I think if he was firing on all cylinders, I think he buries that as well. They had another chance with Andre Silva as well. Doherty had it wayward. I think that was Stephen Kenny had said he was ill. He still played outstanding. Maybe he should be ill every week, but he was outstanding on that side, and that was probably one of his very few mistakes. It could have been costly, but Andre Silva skies that acrobatic effort over the bar. For me, just back on McLean sub, it makes sense to me. I think in another game, maybe you bring a Troy Parrott on. If it's Azerbaijan, I think you bring Troy Parrott on there and you can go at them. The McLean one made sense because he'll generally give you defensive cover, as you said, and he runs up. But he looked off the pace for me. He looked almost unfit. There was a point where maybe it's because he ran half the length of the field and went to run all the way back, and he just looked a little bit jaded. We're not a normal mid-season James McLean, I think, makes up that ground. He just looked a little bit off the pace, in my opinion. I'm just looking at the 85th minute here. Then after those two chances, the pressure starting to really mount. Pepper in our box with crosses. Malumbi and Collins were waiting nearly 5 minutes to come on. Omobamidele makes a block from João Mario, so that was the chance. So I kind of went a bit ahead of myself there. He heads it away, and then the ball was given handball against Josh Cullen then for the free kick, and Bazunu makes an outstanding save from the free kick, and then the inevitable happens. The goal. For me, we spoke about James McLean. For the Guedes part, it's not like he does any sort of certain bit of skill. He literally just runs with the ball in the same movement. It's not like McLean stands, and you're always told to stand, don't dive in. McLean dived in.
He did,
And Guedes rounded him. It's a good ball into the box, and you know who is there. And you know, it's bad enough trying to play against 11 men of a good team anyway, but when you have a superstar like Ronaldo and you have a referee like that and you're contending with all that, the lads were getting tired at that point as well. You can say, and the players that weren't playing as well, like Doherty hasn't been really playing. He might have played a Carabao Cup game or EFL Cup, whatever you want to call it, but he hasn't been playing generally, and he looked a bit tired at that stage. Hendrick looked a bit tired at that stage, which you can totally understand. I'm not blaming anybody. If I was to kind of put a bit of a blame, would be putting on McLean for not stopping. That's
a fair comment. As I said just a couple of minutes ago, you know, you'd normally expect McLean to do better defensively there
on a normal day.
On a normal day, but he's not maybe up to the pace of the game, having only come on a few minutes earlier. It was just a bit schoolboyish the way he bought the little shimmy by the Portuguese lad he got the extra half yard, which is all you need at that level to dig the cross out. And once it's a good cross coming back away from the goal, Ronaldo's coming onto it. Even Bazunu isn't going to save that. You know, it was a great header, but it's a real head in the hands moment. I just sat there with my head in my hands when he scored. It was just, after all that 89 minutes, they've broken through, but you're head in my hands, but still felt we get a point, and we would have deserved at least a point, you know. As we go into injury time, and the board goes up for 5 minutes, and you say, oh, God.
Well, McLean actually goes down the other end and has a chance.
And has a great chance, yeah.
And his second touch, he sets it away from the goal instead of against Austria. He had done the same thing. He probably scores. Do you know what I mean? And he takes it away. And
again, you've got to strike it across the keeper in that situation as well.
He
went the near post as well. You know,
unfortunately.
But that's.
And at that stage was when Malumbi and Collins came on, because Malumbi took that corner then.
Yeah.
Then at that stage, like it was just kind of petering out. Like Jota has a chance, he blazes that over, and then the play just goes on. Now I watched it back at the 95th minute on the 5th minute on the clock.
Yeah.
Portugal are going backwards.
Yeah.
Mendes, I think it is, he was the sub that came on from him. He passes the ball backwards, so they're going back to the centre circle almost. Why isn't the ref blowing up there?
Then? Yeah.
And my other question is, this is probably a criticism, is why is nobody fouling them out that, like, he was allowed, whoever was out on the right hand side, they were allowed to carry with the ball to get into that area, and then João Mario puts the ball in. But why wasn't he fouled? Because they went from nearly the halfway line, a good bit up. Game management, foul him there, and we can deal with the set piece. We've got Duffy, Egan, Omobamidele, we've got height there, and they were dealing with those types of balls throughout the game. The one time they didn't, Ronaldo scored. I appreciate that, but I don't understand why someone is making a clever foul. I do it in the football, Sunday league.
Yeah, well, you can put it. I suppose, you know, we're not looking for really excuses or scapegoats.
I'm not singling.
Which I know you're not. But it's you've tired minds and tired bodies and all that, I suppose. So it's just one of those things. We just weren't cute enough to, as you say, maybe make that foul and slow it down, and then finally put it into the referee's head that he's got to blow for full time. I think that Hendrick put the ball out of play then in the 95th and a half minute, and he should have blown then at that stage. You know,
I think Hendrick makes a block, and we were watching it on the watch along, and some of the lads were critical of him. Says he makes the block. What more do you want him to do? He can only block what's in front of him. Like he almost hits the side of his right foot, and it goes back out, and that's where João Mario hits it back in, and it's a goal. But that's what I'm saying. At that stage, people were saying that Hendry could have cleared it with his left foot. You said they're tired minds. He hasn't been playing at all. I'm not blaming Jeff Blackball in any way, shape or form.
No.
I think he gets his block in. We're not quick out to stop the cross coming in, but at the same time, that's coming into the 6th minute of added time.
Yeah, exactly. Which the match would be over. Match would be over at that stage. Yeah.
And he'd already added a minute on, I'm pretty sure, from the first half extra added time. Extra added time.
Yeah.
So he was just adding on minutes.
Yeah.
The whole time.
It was blatant at that stage, Paul. It was just blatant. It was, as someone else said, play on till they score. That's what happened. You know, there's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for it at all. You know, it was just, that was, as I said in my tweet immediately after full time, that's as bad as I felt since Henry in 09.
Yeah.
It was such a kick in the balls. To concede the goal was bad enough, the winning goal. For it to be an added time was just, that's just too much to take. You know, I was fuming. We all were fuming.
Agree, yeah.
We're all fuming, and I probably still am today, if maybe less so. But very, very proud of the performance. But at the same time, the boys deserved to get something out of that game. You know, it was a far and away our best performance of the 14 under Kenny. It's still only one win in 14, which looks terrible, but you can definitely see in the last 2, 3, 4 matches Kenny's message, or Kenny's philosophy, if you like to want to call it a philosophy, but definitely we're going in a better direction than we were. You know, after the Luxembourg game was such a downer, but certainly the 2 friendlies during whenever they were, June, and last night's performance, it seems to prove to me that they're all playing for him. They're all buying into what Kenny is trying to achieve, and but we've got to follow it up now. We've got to follow it up on Saturday and on Tuesday. We've got to take maximum points now for the goodwill of last night, for the people who are still 50-50 about Kenny, to start bringing more people along now, and who will finally say, well, maybe we're going places. You know, and we've really got to follow up last night's performance now with another 2 good performances. Yeah,
no, but I would agree with all of that, and I would just say, like, there's still people going, oh, Kenny out. I was like, are you mad? Like, okay, the Luxembourg thing, I get that, but the way we played last night, and showing that we can compete, that's all we've all asked for that, and I don't care. You can lie through your teeth and tell me, not you, but like in terms of the general public, you can tell me that you've cried, bitched and moaned for so long that you want us to stop playing the way we did under O'Neill at the end of it, and under Mick throughout, I suppose. Where we were just hanging on for draws. We went at them last night. We had chances, they had chances. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that we played good football at times, we couldn't always, because we were defending, but when we...
No, it's Portugal as well. You're playing Portugal, who were European champions up to a month ago, you know, so yeah,
so exactly. So what I'm saying is, it's like, I think we should be building on this. We have fans back in stadiums for the first time under Stephen Kenny this week. I think it's vital that the fans get behind the team, which I think they will. I don't think that anyone's going to be booing the team. Or I'd be absolutely bewildered if people are. And if you can get that win against Azerbaijan, and maybe that win against Serbia, because you never know, the way we put it up to Portugal, if we can replicate a similar performance, Portugal are far better than Serbia. You know, I know Mitrovic turned around that evening and was just unbelievable. But if we, like, Shane Duffy's back to his best. You know, I don't know what's going to happen with Darragh O'Shea. I don't know how long he's out for now. But we've got John Egan, who's been flying in form because he's scored. We know how good he can be when he's on top form. So we've got 2 of them. You still have Nathan Collins there, who didn't even play. We've got Andrew Mohamed-Deli there, who can come into. If he decides to stick with 3, he might go 4-3-3 and go more attacking against Azerbaijan. But we'll see about that. But there's options there now. Do you know? There's a plan in place. There's young players coming through that are showing that they can make the grade at international level. You know, they're all coming from under 21s. We are still missing players like Jason Knight, who would have been a certain
definitely
last night. You know, I just wonder if that performance took a lot out of them. I think Dan McDonald tweeted that the last game against Luxembourg had a bit of a hangover from it. I just hope that's not the case, and I hope maybe Stephen does make a few changes to bring in for the Azerbaijan game that doesn't take away so much from the performance, but you can play then against Serbia, some of the players that played last night. I think that makes sense. He's got how many players, 23 or 24, that he can, you know, bring in and bring out, and hopefully I think he can bring in players as well. If people are out, I think he can bring in players as well. So if O'Shea's out, he could probably bring in another defender type thing. Do you know what I mean? And there was probably players there that were maybe unfortunate to miss out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Liam Scales being one.
Yeah, well, he did say if anyone was injured, Scales was next man in. So
I think that was the left wing back position. I think he said that.
Well,
next one in, but
Scales can play centre back. Yeah, he'd be very comfortable. I'm not saying he deserves to go straight into the team, but having seen Liam Scales in nearly every match over the past 2 years, he certainly wouldn't look out of place. And his time will come. There's no question about that. Liam Scales' time will come. Yeah. But no, we're in good shape. After last night, we certainly know if the fact that Andrew Omabamidele came in and done so well, he's every chance of keeping his place. If O'Shea doesn't make it, and he would certainly deserve to keep his place.
Faith in youth.
That's it, and that's been his mantra from day one. Really, he's which is the way it should be. You have to walk before you can run. And we needed to do something completely different after so many years of just caveman stuff. That caveman football is gone. It's football has moved on. Football has left that behind now, and that's even if we're not successful with playing that way, at least it'll be pleasing on the eye. I think we're going to compete better with that kind of football, and it's great that our underage teams, as far as I can see, are trying to play the same way, and even most teams in the League of Ireland are trying to play the same way as well. Passing, movement. I think that's the way it should be. But football has moved on. There's no more. Ireland are great. Ireland are great with their spirit. That's part of our DNA, is our spirit, our commitment. But now we can, and Kenny has said this for years, that there's no reason why we can't pass the ball from one green shirt to another. We
just don't need a repeat of the Bazunu penalty.
We just know. But look, there has to be, when you're playing out from the back, that's always liable. It's happened to the big teams as well. It's happened to Liverpool keepers, Man City keepers. Yeah. Any team that plays out from the back, that's the trade-off.
They have a far better pool of players.
They do. But that's going to be a trade-off. If we're going to play the ball, and as a Rovers fan, we've done it before as well. We've conceded goals from trying to play out from the back. That's the trade-off. If you're going to play out from the back with the goalkeeper,
no risk, no reward.
No risk, no. You're going to concede a goal or two somewhere down the line. Now, as Bazunu, and fair play to Bazunu last night, he was big enough to say penalty was my fault. Some other,
it's a great attitude.
Some other fellas might have said, "Oh, it was disappointing" or whatever, but he put the blame squarely on himself. It was my fault. It wasn't Jeff Kenna's fault, or Jeff Hendrick's fault for making the foul, which wasn't a foul, but young Bazunu said penalty was my fault, and he did something about it by saving it.
He looks to be certainly a leader for the future. But,
no question. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all in terms of the final word on that game. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Huge thanks for Phelan for coming in
pleasure.
Giving your thoughts and stuff like that. So we'll definitely have you on again. This is obviously the first time we're doing this back in here, and we haven't done this in nearly since March or something back when the coronavirus just started. So it's great to actually be back and actually doing it and not doing it over the computer. Yeah. So hopefully we'll have more people back in studio, more fans in, kind of giving their thoughts as well. And if you'd like to come in and do what Phelan did, or be on the panel with Phelan, let us know. Get in touch and let us know your thoughts on the game in the comments. I'm sure plenty of you already have, and other stuff. But don't forget to follow Catalpa as well. At Catalpa, is it?
Twitter is at Catalpa Music. Simple as that. And just key in Catalpa into your Facebook.
We'll link it in the
exactly. We'll link it in. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So enjoy the games over the next few days, folks. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe.